so much for doing this interview with me, but more importantly, thank you for such an incredible film. Let's jump right into it for folks who don't know what this is about, because this is war, this is music, this is reality, this is something that's part of our history. Talk a little bit about this film, please.
Well, the film is about the people of Sarajevo during the siege and how they used music and art as a form of rebellion and a personal survival, and how U2 came and played a concert for 40,000 plus people that had been fighting each other not long before.
This is really, again, when I talk about history, this is history. This is a lot of stuff that I remember watching, but never really understanding. This film really gets into breaking things down from the fall of the Soviet Union to the Berlin Wall to now other countries being formed, and understanding the things that were going on in Bosnia, and also what was going on with the public. Talk about being able to capture those film moments, and where did you get those the film, and being able to talk to these incredible reporters, whether they were from Bosnia or other places around the world?
Yeah, we started an extensive process of, we wanted to make the film as experiential as possible as opposed to talking heads. And Matt Damon, we knew about the concert, which was one of the inspirations for it. So Matt Damon went to U2 and asked for us to have the rights to the archive that had never been shared from that experience. And then we started working with different researchers to find the different stories. And for example, the wedding scene in the film, the woman, Vesna, who was a journalist during the siege, was a reporter at the time, and now is a researcher for a film, but to help us find stories. And in the process of talking to her, she told me she got married during the siege, which I found fascinating, and asked her if she had photographs. She said, I actually have home footage of them. And so we went through the process of getting the rights to that archive, and from her, I mean, her not getting the rights, but making her feel comfortable with putting it in a film. And there was Bill Carter's personal archive and a lot of different journalists. So there's a lot of different footage from a lot of people who lived under serious risk and jeopardy during that period of time that we got to share in the telling of this story.
The other thing I found was so important too was how important the children were in this, in the formation of telling the stories, but also the local acts. Talk a little bit about that, because really it was a bond between the two.
Yeah, there was a real thriving music scene and art scene going on in Sarajevo. You know, they had no food, no water. They were under siege. They were shot at. Children were shot at trying to go to school, and no power. And the Sarajevo Film Festival started on a generator underground so that people could gather. The musical Hair was performed every single night. They had art shows. They had these punk rock bands playing in these underground clubs. The symphony would gather and play in a shelter. So, you know, I live in San Francisco now, and I feel like there was more of a thriving music and art scene then in Sarajevo under these horrific circumstances than there is today in this main city.
You know, people always talk about how, music comforts people. In a lot of ways, for me, watching this, music help people survive. Am I correct when I say that?
Yeah, I think, you know, hope is so essential for survival. There's been books written about, you know, during World War II, Jews who were in prison camps, those who could find hope were able to survive at a greater rate than those who gave up hope. And I think expressing oneself is one of the essential parts, in connecting with other human beings is the essential part of who we are. And music and art is an extension of that. So, so I think it was a necessity as opposed to a luxury.
No, absolutely. But let's talk about a very important element to this. Four letters, Bono to U2.
So,
how did Bono and U2 become such an important part of this documentary and this story?
well, I live in the United States now, and
Yeah.
things have become very politically polarized here, horrifically. And it reminded me of what happened pre-war in former Yugoslavia. And in 2017, there was the anniversary of the concert by some news reports. And I remembered how important the concert was for the region. I wasn't there, but I knew about it. And so I saw the concert as a way to be able to share a story about, what happened there and the humanity and this, thriving art scene. So I asked Matt Damon, who I was working with at the time, if he would produce the film, and he had a relationship with the band and was able to go to them and get this archive of footage that had never been shared with the world before. So that's how it came to be, and that's how U2 ended up in the film.
What I also liked on this is because I can remember just a few years ago, Bono, a lot of people didn't like Bono for whatever reasons. I think this sort of reminds people too, wait a minute. You don't know how much Bono has given back to the world in so many different ways. And I think this reminds people just how much that he used his star power in helping a region where, and it's in the film, where it was almost like the United States just didn't want anything to do with Bosnia.
Yeah, I think Bono and the whole band, I mean, they were products of their environment. They lived
Yeah.
in Ireland under social strife and certain injustices that were happening there, and their music became an extension of their activism. It was a way to express themselves. So when Sarajevo was happening, which was very close, in Europe, they had a very natural connection and relationship to it. And I think at the end of the day, these guys are activists, and they know that if they get involved with certain causes, they are going to take it in the neck and in the press and maybe in the public. But what's more important to them is, can they do something here? Can they help in a certain way? And I don't think they put so much importance to how they're going to be perceived from a popularity perspective as to, can they do something meaningful? And that's what's so beautiful about them, that they would take this kind of public risk of the way that they're perceived in order to do something that is going to contribute, which many people won't do, having such large microphones and platforms. They're more concerned about protecting their public image and who they are. And, you see U2 and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and all the guys who were part of helping make this thing happen have an intent of, how can I contribute? How can I help? That's what's most important.
As we wrap this up, my last question is, what do you hope folks get from seeing this documentary, especially now with the war that's going on in that region? I mean, it's kind of funny seeing what I'm seeing on the news now and then watching this. It also gives me a little bit of a chill of, wow, the world has changed and sometimes it stays the same.
I think we're capable of horror and of greatness. And I think the resilience of the Sarajevians is a celebration of the beauty of the human spirit, and something that I wanted to make for my children and my family, most importantly. And look, everybody has a difficult day and gets really down. And it's almost, my kids come home from school and want to complain, and my reaction is, go watch your father's movie. I think that it's not just about the horror of what happened under the siege. It's about the resilience and what we're capable of when we're at our best. And that's when we have empathy and want to contribute to our community.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for this interview, but more importantly, thank you so much for putting awareness in history with this great film. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.